Want to bet?
Then get in on the action at Sports Interaction.
The Boys of Summers are back on the diamond and March Madness is on deck.
Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets.
Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out.
Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN.
Or in Ontario, download the app now using the QR code at the bottom of the screen.
19 plus, please play responsibly.
Knoxy, so we've been using AG1 for about a month now. How do you feel? How good have you been feeling since you started this thing?
Honestly, I know it sounds hokey, but I love it. Like, I love the taste. That's the number one question I get asked. What does it taste like? Does it taste good? It tastes fantastic. You can have it on its own with water. You can mix it into a smoothie. Been on it for about a month now. I have it every morning, honestly. Have it with my black coffee. Gives me the energy I need to get to lunch. And I feel great. I got my nutrients. I'm not worried about having too many vegetables for dinner.
There you go.
How do you feel?
I feel good too. You know what? I do it a bit differently where I put it in the water bottle. Don't do the coffee thing, but I will go and take Winston on a baby walk outside because he's an English bulldog. Not that much exercise needed, but I have time to finish that little drink and then I come back and then I start working. I just feel like I've hit everything I needed for the day. I have the energy, like you said, and it's the easiest thing I've been taken, honestly, to feel as great as I do. And, I added a little Miro to it and it's perfect. It's the perfect drink. And, I wouldn't change anything. To be honest, I'll keep doing it for a long time. I'm pretty sure.
If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you 1 free year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/TKKS. That's athleticgreens.com/TKKS. Check it out.
She scores!
Take a moment to look up at the ceiling. You're about to bust through it.
SDPN, the PWHPA, and Sports Interaction.
Want to bet?
Presents hockey like you've never heard it before. The Knoxy and Kax Show with Liz Knox and Karell Emard.
Let's get it. Go.
Welcome back to Knoxy and Kax. This week, we're excited to bring you the story of an athlete who was a 2-time NCAA national champion, then switched sports, and is now representing Canada on the world stage. She's a product of Brampton, Ontario, is days away from her next national team camp, and is a panelist on a 5-star podcast called The Neutral Zone. We can't wait to hear more of her story. Welcome, Claire Buchanan.
Welcome, Claire.
Thanks, guys. I've been listening to your guys' show for a long time, so I'm pumped.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
Well, we're honored.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think we could probably pick up some tips from you because I was able to listen to one of your podcasts this week, and yeah, we got a ways to go, Kax. But you know what? We're still learning.
We're not still learning. 5 stars area, but we can learn. Live and learn, right?
We're strong 4, though. I think
we are.
We try hard. I can honestly say that's all on our host and producer. He makes the scripts and we just feed him people to interview, use our networks and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely his full-time job because we get a script and we just got to follow it.
I love that. We're just lucky if we can get here.
Well, people want to get on this. We're just, we're a little busy and try to get people into the schedule. So I think it's our fault too. But yeah, Claire, you cannot not take any credit on it. I will say that if the podcast is good, it's because of the host as well too. Let's put it that way.
And we will get into a little bit of the Neutral Zone later in the episode. But we want to start with you, Claire. We met way back in Brampton when I was playing for the Thunder in the CWHL, and that's where you're from. So take us back, born in Brampton, walk us through kind of your sports career, how you found sports.
Yeah. Just
a little bit about your kind of minor sports career, because it sounds like you did a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I've been an athlete for 23 years now. Sledge hockey was kind of my first taste of parasports. And, I kind of owe it a lot to my mom. She found the community that had, other people just like me with playing sports and living with a disability. And so, yeah, at one point I was playing sledge hockey, and I was doing track and field and playing wheelchair basketball, and just like trying everything out as kids do. And so, yeah, very, very lucky to be able to have that. And it blossomed into wheelchair basketball, taking me to the States to play collegiately, and then coming back and finding out there's a women's national team, and also like like a women's pro league happening in the able-bodied community too. So I came back from the States and played a little bit of wheelchair basketball when I came back, and tried to crack that Paralympic squad, and just was never able to get there, and just really at one point chose to really dive head in to hockey and kind of revolve my entire life around it.
As we do,
like live and breathe the sport. We're talking hockey on family day. So like, I love it. You got to love what you do, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to take you back before Knoxy probably has 20 questions coming up, and I know, but so within the community and where you were, and you said your mother found an association or sports that you could go on. How? Because if I'm being honest, when we want to play hockey, yes, there was no girls hockey maybe in our time or whatever, and we played with the boys. But how either difficult or easy was it to find these sports and areas and teams or organizations where you could see yourself and compete amongst similar people as you?
I would like to say that it was easy, but I mean, I don't know how it was like for a mom with a kid with a disability in the late 80s. So probably true. A whole gap of information was lacking. And I mean, I think that she is, I guess, more determined than most, and really wanted to find something that I can get out and do and meet friends and just kind of be a regular kid. Because I mean, during school and kind of those day-to-day things, you don't really feel like the other kids, and those barriers are kind of put in front of you. So I think she was just kind of head first into making sure that I had kind of that community. And I can say now that, like, I mean, especially with social media and shows like this, that there's just an endless amount of information, and it's now just like a click away of like, hey, I want to play a sport, like when you're on the ice the next week, right? So it was probably really, really hard, but I definitely can't speak from her experience. I'm sure it was really difficult.
You hit on so many good points there. I mean, I think this is the whole point of sport is to find community, stay active, meet people like you, and like we talk about the PWHPA, the Secret Dream Gap Tour, like this is all we're trying to do. We're just trying to give young girls a visible piece where they can say, hey, I want to do this with my life, and, to your point, like, in the late 80s, I'm sure there wasn't like commercials for like join your local para hockey team or sledge hockey team or join this wheelchair basketball league. Like your mom, to your point and to her credit, I'm sure had to put in a little bit of work to make sure that she had the opportunities that, you were more than deserving of. And before we get into kind of your career, I do want to kind of acknowledge the disability that you live with, which is spina bifida. I think I said that correctly. My Wikipedia search says it's a condition that affects the spine, type of neural tube defect. So in layman's terms, tell us how spina bifida affects your life. And obviously under the understanding that everybody's a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. So it affects your spinal cord. So more often than not, there's a lesion in the area that it's affected, and depending on kind of what level of your spine that it's at, that's really determines what parts of your body it affects. And so I am much different than other people that live with spina bifida. It's a very wide range of a disability where I, more often than not, if people don't see that I'm wearing leg braces or whatnot, that mistaken me for able-bodied. So my the way that it affects my body is very minor. But at the other end, people with spina bifida also could be wheelchair users as well and be completely paralyzed from the waist down. And so it's just, they kind of call it the snowflake disability because it's just, because nerve endings are tricky and fragile at the same time. So depending on where that lesion is and kind of where it's affected, you never know what it's gonna affect your body and as a whole.
Absolutely. So you like you say, walking down the street, people may mistaken you for an able-bodied person, which I'm sure is kind of like an interesting, like, I don't know, perspective on the world, because we think of disability at times and we think that it's going to be so obvious, right?
Yeah.
So you're like kind of like an insider being like, hey, don't park there, or hey, this building is not like accessible to my friends.
You said it perfectly, because I like living in downtown Toronto. The amount of spaces that are not accessible, but kind of like claim that they are. It's kind of mind blowing. I used to be this kind of shy, quiet kind of kid and teenager. And now I've just kind of grown into this adult that like walks into a place and I'm like, nope, this place, you're not accessible. I can't bring my friends here. Like, I wish I want to come back because like it's a cool place, but I can't bring my bros. I can't bring I can't bring my teammates. You know what I mean? I can't.
I like your food, but like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and sometimes it can be like very little things, but like details that we don't think of that you could point out right away. And I mean, I just think I need to learn so much more about it. And I bet you, like, let's say I would think, oh, this is great. They did this and they did that. And it's super accessible. And you'd walk in and be like, no, actually, they're missing this part.
You see a handicap sign and you're like, oh, okay, like everything must be good. And like all this. But yeah, it's frustrating because it's like, I can't say this for sure, but it's just an assumption that I'm making that like able-bodied individuals are creating or trying to create spaces for disabled people and not like actually asking disabled people.
I was going to say, were you asked to ever help any, like that's my kind of my point. Like, are we not reaching out to the right people to actually make these places accessible? Or
like hiring the right people. Like this is our entire argument for like policy change and whatever. It's like, oh, we want to, invite more women to the space. Well, like how many women were on the Hockey Canada board, this is a no brainer. Like you want to be more inclusive to a population of people that you're typically not reaching. Hey, like, give them a seat at the table, right? Exactly. We're already getting so political and I love it. But I want to save some of it. I want to save the hard-hitting questions
later.
Yeah. So, okay, you kind of touched on it. You went to the University of Alabama. You played women's wheelchair basketball there. And so, as we were saying before the show, like Kax and I know NCAA women's hockey or U Sport women's hockey. We know that experience. We lived it. We want to get like your inside experience of playing like Division I women's wheelchair basketball
and the whole process on how you got there. Like
University of Alabama of all places.
This is what we do. Well, we ask that, right? Recruiting, everything. We want to know like all about it, Claire. So take us through it all.
I mean, recruiting was kind of the first like step of it, right? And it's cool to have that feeling of like, okay, like that was kind of my first taste of like, okay, sport can take me places, you know what I mean? And outside of Brampton, Ontario. So
I can actually go somewhere else and play.
And play sports. Yeah. So it was cool. Yeah. I was being recruited by the University of Alabama and also the University of Illinois. And I mean, I think Illinois, I would have had just as much fun at Illinois. But they recruited me. They brought me down in like the middle of winter and like,
oh God.
Yeah,
That's a little bit. Okay.
You know, and then, like,
Tell me Alabama was sunny,
University
rainbows
of
and
Alabama
butterfly.
like flew me down like in May and like
Right.
it's sunny out and yeah, I was like,
They were winning
I think
already.
I could go a few years without seeing snow. I think I'd be okay with this.
Seriously.
Yeah, but again, it was kind of my first taste of like high performance sport, and it was exactly kind of the experience that I would assume that able-bodied Division I sports are as well. It has gotten bigger, obviously, over the years in terms of kind of the amount of people that are investing in college parasports, and it's growing in that sense. But they still, with the resources that they had, they made it feel like a Division I experience of 2-a-day practices, like games all weekend, and on top of schools, and like the traveling was cool, and nothing beats going to a Alabama football game and living that life, and it's pretty cool because Alabama doesn't have any pro sports down there, they live and breathe their college sports, so it's a way of life down there, and that was really cool to experience.
That's awesome. And before you go, I just want all our listeners to see or understand what the league was like and how many games, and like just a couple more details on that. Like how many teams actually, were your school? Did all schools have, those programs, or it was pretty limited and now it's grown since then? Like where was it at back then?
Yeah. It's definitely grown since then. I was there until yikes.
It's okay. We all graduated a long time ago.
Like, how old?
You could say date or you could say a few years back, but it's okay.
I think at that time when I was there was roughly six schools involved, and now it's a giant league, and there's multiple divisions.
I was going to ask,
and like I said, there's just a bunch more money being invested in it, so they're getting the state-of-the-art workout rooms, and the whole locker room experience is like D1 legit. Like your stall has your name in it, and it's crafted for you, and it fits your ball chair, and it's wild what they have now. But it's cool to see how far it's come.
Yeah.
But they had a great league when I was there. Yeah.
So 6 teams. What were the university? Sorry, Knoxy. I'm stealing.
No, you're good. You're good.
Right
Take
now.
it away.
I just have
Who's
so
a
many
big school?
questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, up until we won the national championship, Illinois owned it.
Okay.
They were the ones
I don't know, Knoxy, if you hear this, but I think Illinois was recruiting her, and then she went to Alabama, and then Alabama won. I don't know.
Not a big
Just
deal.
gotta put it out there.
There was us, Illinois, Texas. I think there was a team in Maryland and Arizona.
So a little bit of travel too, I guess.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of that was one of my favorite parts, was the road trips on the bus, right? So
okay, wait, tell us. I'm thinking of a bus, right? How wheelchairs, everything, whatever you have.
Yeah.
Were you carrying all of that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna. That was the rookies' jobs. You get really good at Tetris and packing stuff. I'm blind now because the rookies, that was your job. All right, you're putting all the chairs underneath the bus and organizing all the luggage and stuff. But
I love that. I love that. That's still the culture, though. All right, rookies, take my chair. I'll be getting settled on the bus with my mochaccino latte, whatever.
I did this 3 years ago. It's not my job anymore. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And in terms of equipment, because obviously your chair is your equipment, for us, on the ice, pads, all that stuff. Does a school provide you with a game chair? Do you have game chair, practice chair? Help us understand how the equipment works.
Well, now, now athletes, if they're at kind of the college and high performance level, they'll have like a main chair and a backup chair in case, like your frame breaks or stuff like that. Like it's very physical.
I was going to say
full contact sport.
I was going to say, Knoxy, have you seen a game? Because I've seen some people ramming into each other. I was like, I would hurt myself.
Right. Kax would run people over. We know that.
No, I couldn't. Like they were training also at the Olympic Stadium with us when we were there, INS. And I was always like so impressed. We were doing sprints or stuff on the other court, and they were doing sprints on the chairs and everything. Yeah. But and I was like, oh my God, I honestly have so much what's the word in English? God, I only have it in French, but
say it in French. This is my favorite game. Well, guess what you're trying to say.
No. I gotta find but I give you guys so much credit, but it's so amazing to watch too. I think it's a beautiful sport. Admiration. Admiration. See, it's so close. Yes. What am I thinking? Thank you, Knoxy. But
I got you, girl.
So main chairs and backup chairs, but when you went, it was I'm assuming one chair and then fix it on the fly if anything.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, you get really good relationships with the local welders. Yeah.
I love that. That just totally reminded me of the Jill Saulnier medal story of her take. You guys are she is taking her Olympic gold medal, and you're taking your chair in, being can you fix this, because we have a game in 12 hours and I don't need this thing breaking on me. That's amazing. Exactly. Okay, so so did you play all 4 years there at University of Alabama?
I was there 3 years.
Okay, nice. So you played 3 years there, and you're playing wheelchair basketball, and then you studied journalism, you come back to Canada, and as you kind of alluded to, you found your way back into sledge hockey, which, before we go too far, I have to clarify. Tell us the difference, if at all, between para hockey and sledge hockey.
Zero. There's nothing other than the name. It's always been sledge hockey. But a couple Paralympic cycles ago, the IPC and the Paralympic Games wanted to align all the sports so they kind of sounded the same. And so there's para swimming and para weightlifting or para soccer. So they just wanted to align that to
para hockey.
I guess have a little more clarity of what the sport is, I guess.
Right. But the OGs.
So complex.
The OGs. It'll be interesting to see how long this kind of lasts. But yeah, it's I'm sure there's a new generation that'll just start calling it para hockey, and
then that's when you'll know you're old.
Yeah, oldies will be like, no, it's sledge hockey.
And the distinction too, I didn't mention this before the show, but sledge hockey, that you play on a sled. That's what you guys call your on ice vehicle. I'll call it.
Yes,
that's your sled.
Yes. And I mean, not to poke at the U.S. too much, but the U.S. is the only country in the entire world that calls it sled hockey.
Wow.
Our
friends. Their own name too. They make their own stuff.
Our friends to the south. They're take away the G. We don't need that. It's a sled.
Let's make it their own. It's
okay, good. Well, I'm glad we could clarify some of those terms because it's new to some of our listeners, I'm sure, and want to make sure we're saying the right things, describing the right sport even. So tell us a little bit then about coming back to Canada, finding sledge hockey. We're OGs, right? We can call it sledge hockey.
Yeah, we'll go with
finding sledge hockey. And then about the league that you started in, maybe are still playing in, how it's changed, how you switch teams. Take us through kind of your career after Alabama.
Yeah. It was actually at a wheelchair basketball tournament that in Ontario. I think it was in Ontario that one of my teammates was like, I remember you used to play sledge hockey, right? Do you still want to play? And she was not only on the national team, but her parents were the head coaches of it. They're the ones that started it and was like, there needs to be a women's team. So I literally bought a sled that week, and I was like, yes,
I'm just dive in.
Yeah, I am here for it. So yeah, I got a sled that week, and I think tryouts were 8 weeks, 10 weeks out from there. And
Wow.
I've been on the national team ever since. And, so in Ontario, we have our own sledge hockey league, just kind of within the province, and it's the Ontario Sledge Hockey Association. And, I can't tell you how many teams there are in it. But, we have a tournament in London every year. And we have, I think, four or five different divisions, and like 46 teams were there this past year. So
huge.
Yeah. Sledge hockey players from like age 5 in like the tiniest little buckets. Like, it's the cutest thing on the planet.
That's
up to
amazing.
You got players, both men and women, and in easily into their 60s playing sledge hockey.
Really?
So yeah.
That's awesome.
It's very interesting, the like longevity of the sport that you're able to do in sledge hockey. Like, it's one of those things that like you can literally play until you die.
I love that. I think that's how we all want to go out. Just playing a great game.
Yes.
Okay. I want to go back to the one thing you said. So you bought a sled, and then 8 weeks, then you had tryouts. So were you on the ice every day? Kind of like getting back to like, you know what I mean? I wish that was an option just in general for sledge hockey. Ontario's pretty good that there's numerous arenas just around the GTA and outside the GTA that have kind of weekly ice times specifically for sledge hockey. So, exactly,
I'd be going to Oakville or Newmarket and just kind of all over the place, just trying to get as much ice as possible.
Right.
It's nice to have it there, but again, like it's not, you can't have ice every day. That's really,
I mean, I said that.
Unless you're on the Paralympic team and like Hockey Canada is paying for your ice, you don't get ice all the time.
I don't know, you know? Well, my point was being like, I think it's super impressive that, so you played, then you kind of left that sport, went in basketball, and then got back to it, and then made the team basically 8 weeks later. So we all don't get that ice every day. We know it too. But like, I was just curious to like, were you able to find ice? Was there like things?
Is it like drop-in hour then? Like,
yes, it's most of the time on those schedules, it's drop-in sledge hockey shinny.
And you're just like kind of running your own drills, trying to get yourself ready.
Yeah. And like, it's pretty cool. Like, the sledge hockey community in general is just kind of like busting with fantastic humans. So, you just kind of like, once ice starts, whoever's there, we kind of figure out, okay, what do we want to work on? Or, I mean, obviously some guys and girls just want to show up in scrimmage for 2.5 hours, but that's not how we get better. So sometimes we'll split up the ice, or we work it out between ourselves most of the time.
Makes sense.
And just for reference, because goaltending equipment is hella expensive. Like, to just like be like, oh, I'm going to go buy goal equipment today is like a serious investment.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what a sled would cost. What did it cost you when you came back?
Yeah. Okay. So like your most basic kind of beginner sled, which is a bunch of pieces are adjustable. So you can kind of play around with it and see how you like your sled to kind of be set up. Runs at around $700.
Okay.
And then like the one that I have and kind of the high performance athletes have, we kind of know and set in how we like our sled to feel and stuff is right at $1,500. But that's like molded to your body and like, it's pretty customized.
And then sticks on top of that, of course.
And all
sticks are $300 a pair.
Steep. Steep. And then like Kax says, then all of your protective gear.
Like and
then gear. So shout out to Play It Against Sports in Brampton, because they've been sharpening my blades and they have been helping me with equipment for close to 2 decades. So
wow. That's incredible. Really, really cool. Yeah. And okay, so now you're playing for the Durham Steelhawks. Tell us a little bit about this league. So safe to assume it's a co-ed league, right?
Yeah.
How often then are you training with like just women, or how often are you training and playing with the Durham team? Like tell us a little bit about like kind of your regular season right now as it stands.
Yeah. So we have one practice a week, and then most of the weekends we have games as well. Once, like one game a week as well. Yeah, I'm currently in the B division. So there's the A division, B division, C division. I was last year, and before that, I was with the Mississauga Cruisers in the A division, and I was with that team, I think 4 or 5 years. And again, it's also mixed. And the A division, they haven't been really consistent over the last few years with this, but they will let the national guys play in the league, and then the next season they'll not let them play. So it's been up in the air, but it's been cool to have the opportunity to kind of be teammates and kind of play against the Paralympic guys. It's made me a better player.
Right.
Yeah, but with the Durham Steelhawks, we're in the B division, and again, it's mixed. I myself and one other girl is on the team, so yes, it's mixed, but it's not.
It's like a couple girls
there's not
and
a whole lot of female presence. But it's women's hockey and sledge hockey right now is just kind of exploding with all the exposure, and kind of the next generation now like can see that there's an opportunity to play for their country and go to the Paralympic Games one day. So we weren't able to say that a few years back. So I think now that there's like, hey, like I can do this, like, and make a life out of it is bringing in a whole lot of interest with girls.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So we'll see maybe more leagues, more women's league potentially rise up from there, or vice versa. I mean, who knows?
That would be great.
Is there any all women's league right now?
No, I don't think so. No, there isn't. I know like pre-pandemic, we had a few years where we had like a Canadian national women's championship where we had Team Ontario, Team Quebec, and then like a Team Alberta team. And then there was like a mixed team because of numbers. But we haven't done that in a few years. There's actually been a couple of conversations of like people missing that tournament and stuff. Cause like,
sure,
it's like you guys know, it's a completely different feeling of like just being around all women and playing hockey in a tournament than playing with the guys. So
then would that be like, forgive my not knowing, but like for us, like, you play U18 on Team Ontario, you might get noticed by the national team there. Then they kind of follow your career as you go, to college. You might get picked up for U22 team. Like you like kind of get seeded into this like journey or like pathway to the national team. Obviously with the dream being the Olympics. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How does it work for you as an athlete to get noticed and picked up by the Canadian women's sledge hockey team?
A lot of it is word of mouth right now, obviously.
Really?
Like there's just, I mean,
there's probably
like the London tournament and the other tournaments, like that's current national players, and like the head coach will have us like scouting players. And
it'll be like, this girl's legit.
Go find out how many girls are playing hockey right now. Like who you got your eye on, and like, so it's a lot of like us putting in our efforts to grow the game and again let women know and girls know that, hey, like you're pretty good at this. Like, do you want to be on the national team? Like how far do you want to go with this? And so, which is really cool because then you do get that kind of like genuine connection right away. And it's I mean, scouting is done directly from the national team to rec leagues. There isn't with sledge hockey. It's literally like just one jump and you're on the national team. So it would be a dream to be able to have like kind of that under 22 or, you know what I mean?
The
Kind of
development parts.
camp. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the coaches are putting in a lot of their time, is because, right, I mean, grassroots is where it's at, and you can't build off of nothing, right? So, grassroots is really important in the sledge hockey community with growing the game and making sure that enough players know what their opportunities are.
Yeah, like you just like said it best, like opportunity. Like, talk about an opportunity for Hockey Canada to like invest in scouting. Like, listen, at the end of the day, like anytime you wear the Maple Leaf or the Stars and Stripes, or, you know, wherever you're from, if you represent your country, like, it's nationalism. It's like pride of where you come from. And like, we want to win. So like, what an opportunity to create like scouting, coaching development, recruiting, development for players. Like, this is like basically like a blank slate just sitting here being like, okay, who's gonna take this opportunity, right? Like,
see, that's the frustrating part, is that at like the high performance players have not directly seen kind of the impact of the contributions that Hockey Canada have given us. They have contributed to our program financially, but it's been put towards grassroots. So at camps, we're able to hold like a tryout session for local women and girls and stuff like that. But it's not like, we haven't been able to put those resources directly to the high performance program.
Understood. Yeah.
Okay. So they have like a couple tryouts in different regions and then they make the national team type of thing, or how does that even work?
No, so it'll be like, we have tryouts coming up this next weekend, and it's just that weekend is selection camp, and the national team will be selected during that weekend, and also a handful of development players will be kind of selected, which they'll be able to be involved in training camps and stuff, but they won't. They won't be kind of putting the jersey on yet and playing games, but being able to, again, like develop and have that space where like no one's really like, we don't want to leave people behind. You know what I mean? Like, there's no better atmosphere of getting better than playing alongside the national team that you want to be on one day. So,
and right now, just curious, like within your national team, like what's the age gap, the age differences between,
that is,
you know,
Kax is trying to expose you right now.
I don't even want to say that, but like I started, like first team I played on the women's side, I was like when I went for the first couple of times, I was 13, just playing for seeing what that was like. And there was like people like 27, 28, 30 years old. And I like, you know, so
it's a big gap.
It's like a big gap. And I'm just curious to, you know, since you're saying like, there's not much like development going, so there's not a U22. So like the gap is also like anyone and everyone that can make the team, you know, can make it. That's any national players really, or national programs. But I'm just curious to right now, like there must be a little bit of an older crew and a younger crew.
Right now, the national team, it's up until, I think this is the first or second camp, selection camp that is invite only. Now, so like there's enough girls and enough talent out there that like they can close it up and do it that way. But, the minimum age to try out for the national team is 14. And last year when we won silver at the first World Challenge, we had 2 14-year-old rookies on the team. So,
See, let's leave it to that, but I love it.
There's a handful of girls on the team that I don't recognize their name. And it's probably a whole bunch of youngins coming up to try to steal our spots. But one of our current goalies that played with us last year as well, she's in her 50s. So.
What?
I love it.
There's
She's still crushing it.
Man.
You know what? She's still crushing it.
Damn,
and she deserves to be there.
There's hope for me. I can keep playing.
Like I got plenty of time. Of course, I can make it to 2030.
Claire, we got decades ahead of us. Like, we are
come jump in a sled, man. You guys can play hockey forever.
we're barely hitting our prime right now. The best years are ahead of us.
Yes,
that's incredible. I mean, good honor. Like, that's in a sport, like, frankly, because we play women's hockey, so we know what it's like to play in an underfunded, underrecognized sport. Like, you must just love the game.
I mean, we wouldn't be spitting out almost 10 grand a season to represent Canada at our own pockets.
Here we go.
There we go.
This is where we got the window is in there. Let's go, Knoxy.
So
dive in.
The first, I'm going to say the IPC Women's Sledge Hockey World Challenge, first ever, was in Brampton in 2014. So this is like 10 years ago. Let's call it 10 years ago, roundabout. Canada finished with silver. You were on that team, Claire. And then, as you mentioned, this past summer, there was a para ice hockey women's world challenge in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Still not a world championship, though. So the first things first, I want you to kind of like explain this to us. What's the difference between this world challenge and what is the direction that you are headed?
Yeah. So up until now, we've had a lot of support with the IPC. Like what is the IPC, first of all? The International Paralympic Committee. So very similar to the International Olympic Committee, like mirrored almost. So they have
should be like, this is
exactly.
This is bare minimum shit right here.
So they've always shown a lot of support for, like, they know that our sport deserves to be at the Paralympic Games, and we've now reached a point where they can actually start scheduling tournaments that are in the books and do kind of our bricklaying steps to a World Championships and then a Paralympic Games, because one, you can't have a Paralympic Games tournament without a World Championships tournament. So they're just in the process of on the way to creating a World Championships. And I think that's coming with more teams internationally having women's para hockey. So I mean, it's Canada and the US have been just battling it out on their lonesome for I guess close to a decade now. And now we have Great Britain has a full team squad that was in Green Bay last year. And there's a bunch of countries now that are showing the interest because they see now that there's an actual plan, right? Not just kind of this idea of like, oh, we want women's sledge hockey in the Paralympic Games, but now there's it's set in stone there's an actual plan laid out to make it happen.
So the World Challenge is there to draw eyes, draw attention, get other, sport associations to be like, oh, hey, like this is a 2-horse race right now. If we invest in our programs, like we could be a part of this World Championship, which has to happen before women's para hockey can be instated in the 2030 Paralympics. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, absolutely.
See, there's always just these like loopholes that we have to jump through to get the sport where we want it. But it's good to know. And then I guess like tell us a little bit. This summer there was a ton of eyes on women's para ice hockey in the Women's World Championship or Challenge. Sorry, so it just rolls off my tongue. I'm used to saying
I know. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to like have that be a part of our language. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But so the Women's World Challenge, right? And this was right at the helm of all the stuff coming out about Hockey Canada and their funds and where they're putting it to cover up whatever else. We won't spend too much time there, and it basically comes out that your team pays for all this yourself. Like you pay to go to these tournaments.
And not just the athletes, like our staff that we have, from our head coach all the way through to our physio and massage and mental health specialists. They literally are putting their free time And it's not free time. It's not free
volunteer,
time.
basically.
It's volunteer, and they want to be a part of this, and they love being a part of the program. And it's nice to see, because it truly shows how passionate we are to kind of grow the game and be there. But I mean, players and staff deserve to be supported.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even covering the cost of these things should be, you should play for free at least. If not, that's the first step, I guess. And I just want to go back to, so 2025 would be the intent for Women's World Championship to happen. Is it the reasons to push it to those that year, to have like a numerous amount, or do you have to have a minimum amount of countries that has to, perform in order to call this a world championship? Is that why?
Yes, I believe so. That is, it's giving kind of that gap time to have other
Finland
countries put in teams and be able to train and be prepared. I know that I believe for the Paralympic Games, at least, I can't speak on the World Championships, but the IPC is asking for a minimum 6 to 8 teams, which for tournament play, like it makes sense with like the format that the tournament kind of unfolds and stuff. But again, it's not impossible.
Yeah.
If people want to buy in, they will.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the whole like growing the game part is like a big thing. Like I know Canada and the US have done this in the past, but going to other countries and trying to like run, tryouts, like just come and try, and like, will you love hockey? Basically, would you fall in love with it? So I'm hoping that this is kind of like a thing that they will push for. Although I understand right now the budget is not even placed in their own country. Like Hockey Canada, step up for, I'm saying it, you're not, but step the F up and, invest in your players. And then you could also help other countries to, kind of like grow this game that we're talking about here. Like,
well, because grassroots investment is fantastic. Like,
absolutely.
Certainly we're not saying take away from grassroots, but if you're investing in the grassroots, but you're cutting the lawn every day, like
exactly,
you're not giving it anywhere to grow.
You got to fertilize that thing, and then let them. You got to put some money on that grass here and there, so that it looks good and people want to,
have
join
their grass look like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we were lucky enough. I mean, again, it comes from our staff and head coach.
Yeah,
I don't know when my head coach sleeps, but like she's constantly thinking of ways to like just help grow not only our team, but parasports in general. She's totally involved in everything. But this past November, she helped create like a campaign for calling in corporate businesses to like step up and support us and invest in women and women's para hockey. So very, very grateful and excited to be partnered with Canadian Tire and Mark's Work Warehouse. And for the first time ever in the women's program, it's fully funded, and athletes can breathe a little bit.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
wow. And on the shoulders,
it's just a domino effect.
On the shoulders of your head coach, who, as you say, like just created this call to action, like this is wrong. Yeah. Let's just put the pressure on the corporations to like recognize. And again, timely, because corporations are pulling their money from, certain areas of a certain association that we won't say again, and they're saying, how will we give our money back to the sport that we all love? Like at the end of the day, I understand, like, obviously there's adaptations to it, but it's the same game. Like we fell in love with it for the same reasons. Like, so good on her for going that extra mile, and hopefully that trend continues.
It was definitely time. In 2019, USA Hockey picked up their women's para hockey team, and so they've been under USA's umbrella since then, and have been able to. They just have that many more camps, and just have that much more opportunity to grow and train together on the ice, which is the best way to train as a team, right? It was time that we were tired of waiting for people that are sitting on their hands. Like they have the opportunity to do something, and we were ready to kind of take it in our own hands and say, all right, who wants to invest in us and who wants to be a part of this journey? Because we're not going to stop what we're doing. Like it's not changing what we're doing on a day-to-day basis for the game. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you kind of alluded to it there. We will get into the podcast shortly, but you guys are funding this up until now. You're funding this all by yourselves. So suffice it to say that you're not training. Training is not your full-time job. So
I do not get paid to train. No.
Right. So you're finding time to train, which again, we've talked about on this show is a huge issue in women's hockey as well, because imagine how the limit would move if everyone was able to train full-time. But tell us about your other work. Like what is your day job, or how do you pay the bills?
Well, I mean, I intentionally keep myself in the sports world.
As we all do.
I don't want to do anything else, especially after I'm done being an athlete. So the last few months I've been working with Wheelchair Rugby Ontario as their high performance coordinator. And I work out with a little bit of the wheelchair tennis crew as well, but my main focus is with the wheelchair rugby crew. And I also am part of a podcast. So do what you guys do as well. And again, it's covering para sports and mainstream sports. So, I dabble in a bunch of stuff. And again, being an athlete, it also brings in cool opportunities of public speaking and kind of doing stuff like that. So, I am very busy all the time. I'm also a mom.
I was going to say, and you have a 5-year-old, so
that's a real job right there too. Full-time job.
No kidding.
Yeah. So.
We have puppies. That's it over here, Knoxy and I. But we think it's pretty tough too. No, it's not comparable. But we try. We're moms.
We try.
We're animal moms. I guess I don't know what to call it.
Parents. Okay. Oh gosh. Edit that out. No, I'm just kidding. Leave it in. Everyone knows I'm an idiot. Okay. So tell us about The Neutral Zone, which is your podcast. Everyone who's listening, go check it out. I just listened to your most recent episode, happened to be on Valentine's Day with Devin Hero, who's a great, I guess, broadcaster, analyst in parasport and in curling. He's fantastic. I'm obsessed with him. I love him. But tell us first about kind of the concept of your podcast, who your co-hosts are, and then maybe we'll get into some of your favorite guests or favorite topics.
It's called The Neutral Zone, and we cover a good split of parasport and mainstream sports. So we'll interview high performance para athletes across all sports. Next week we're interviewing a adaptive CrossFit athlete. So
who is it? Can you tell us?
That world is wild. Jedediah Nelson.
So cool.
Sorry, Jedediah Snelson. He's been to the CrossFit Games 8 times, won it 3 times. Just a jacked human.
You think?
Yeah, just jacked. So, it's a fun show. The host and producer is a 2-time Paralympian and bocce, and it's me and 3 other guys talking parasports. And I got into it because one, I've been friends with that group of guys for most of my athletic career. We've either played sledge hockey together or crossed paths in the parasport world. So it's cool just like talking about sports with your buds every week, right? And
Absolutely.
So,
We get it.
the show's been running for 6 years. I've been part of the program for 3 years, but
nice.
started off as them interviewing me, talking about women's para hockey, and they're like, "Do you want to give this a go and come on and like be a part of it?" So yeah, it's been great. And this past September, we switched over and added the YouTube addition to our podcast. So all of our visual viewers can get a taste of our show now. So yeah,
that's awesome. Really cool. So and your network is Accessible Media Incorporated. You said that this show's been running 6 years.
Yeah, it's very cool. I think like it literally started with like the host and one of the other co-hosts literally going and being like, "Hey, we have this idea about a show. Like, do you want to support us?" And that's how it started. They literally asked for a show and they got it. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
so cool.
That. And way to bring visibility, to
absolutely.
like any sports that you guys cover too, or athletes that way.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I get to learn about sports that I've never been able to kind of get a taste of. So yeah it's pretty fun.
And do you have, I know you can't really say like you have a favorite guest because you've been there for 3 years. So you've had a lot of guests.
Yeah.
But if you had to pick like a favorite episode, like an episode where you're like, hey, you want a real taste of what this show's like, listen to this one.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, we got to interview Brian Burke. And so, I mean, a little bit of backstory for some context. Up until the pandemic, again, another one of my jobs to pay the bills and be able to play hockey. I was a Uber driver here in downtown Toronto, and Brian Burke ended up in my car one night. I got to was talking like World Juniors and sledge hockey with Brian Burke in my car. Yeah, it was. And then literally like a year later, like getting on this podcast and interviewing the guy, and
you're like, yo, Berkey, you want to come on the pod? Like, yeah, I'll pick you up. Don't worry.
Yeah, so wild. So, that show as well. Our host and producer was away that week. So I got to host that episode as well.
Wow.
So
oh my gosh.
That is one that will forever stick.
Seriously.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And Berkey's like, I say it like we're buddies. He has no idea who I am, for the record. Mr. Burke, I mean, he's fantastic. Like, he is such an advocate of inclusion. Like, he is, advocating vocally about LGBTQ plus acceptance, which is pathetic that's where we're starting. But
human decency,
we'll start there. It's fine. Like, we're getting there, one thing at a time. And he was at our games in Pittsburgh. Like, he followed along in the CWHL days. He's fantastic. Like, he's one of those guys. Like, he's good for the sport. He's like, and by the sport, I just mean hockey at large, the hockey umbrella, we'll call it. That's cool. I can't wait to check out that episode. That's started out as his Uber driver. Come on.
Seriously. Yeah. That's sick.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I think we're nearing the end. I did want to make sure that we plugged that the rivalry series, although game has started now, we're recording on Tuesday. What day is it today? Tuesday?
Monday.
Oh my God.
Got it, Knoxy.
Although the rivalry series is starting now, they're not the only Canadian women's team in Quebec this week and weekend. Of course, Claire Buchanan and the Canadian women's para hockey team will take place in their national selection camp, the 22nd to 26th, I believe, right? Is that correct? For the 2023 national team. So this is like a 4-day camp. Walk us through kind of a day in the life. Like, what are we going to be expecting?
Yeah. So Wednesday is kind of our travel day. Everyone's coming in, either driving or flying. We have a wide variety of athletes coming from all over Canada, which is cool. Wednesday they're taking us out to the rivalry series, actually. So we're going to be
nice. You're going to be in Laval.
Yeah.
I'll be there, Claire. Maybe we should sit down. Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, we should connect for sure. Yeah,
it's FOMO.
It's going to be so much fun.
You can make it in, girl.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you're all coming to Montreal.
Yeah, we're all coming to Montreal. Yeah, Wednesday's just kind of like a fly in, hang out day, get to know everybody.
Nice.
Kind of break the ice a little bit. This is the biggest group that we've had at national team selection camp. So a lot of new faces, a lot of old faces coming back after maternity leave and kind of also taking a break. So some old faces, some new faces showing up. And
Nice.
A whole bunch of youngins, I'm sure. So
it's okay. That means the sport is healthy. That's what it means, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
Let me plug in what rink are you guys hosting this camp at? Do you know? Do you know the names in Montreal?
I do have that information, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, no worries.
I was just in Montreal actually this past weekend and caught some para hockey. The men's development team and Paralympic team was there as well, having a camp. So there's a lot of hockey going on in Montreal this week alone. So
we can probably link it.
I was going to say we're going to link where it is, and then it obviously this will come out on Friday, and then we'll make sure that if they can catch. Yeah, go watch. Yeah. Go,
absolutely.
And go take it and hound Claire for autographs afterwards.
Absolutely. I'll be around, so maybe I'll show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do.
Should do. Okay. I love it.
So, over the weekend, it'll be 2-a-day ice times. There'll be a couple inter squad games as well into that. Some off ice testing, on ice testing. And then Sunday we'll have kind of individual meetings and get phone calls to see if we crack the squad or not afterwards. So
wow, I don't miss those days.
I have a couple of the young girls are like, they're just like, I'm so nervous, and I'm at a point now where I'm just like, I just treat it like any other training camp. Like, you know what? If someone takes my spot, like, good on them. Like, I'm just like, you get to a point where you're just like, it's just fun to be around that group. And, but I mean, the nerves are good. That means you care, right?
Absolutely. We wish you all the best, Claire. You can check out WPHcanada.com or the women's para hockey team at WPH Canada on Instagram. So check those channels. I'm sure that they'll be covering the camp coming up. And in PWHPA news, we're soaking up the sun in Tampa Bay this weekend in partnership with the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's stop number 7 on the Secret Dream Gap Tour, February 24th to 26th at the Advent Health Center Ice. The weekend kicks off with Scotiabank and Harvey's at 12 on Friday, followed by Sonnet and Adidas at 3 p.m. You can get tickets, schedule, merchandise, and more at pwhpa.com or on our social channels at pwhpa. Claire, cannot thank you enough. This was incredibly informative, and I think, it opened our eyes. Hopefully it opened our listeners' eyes to this world that is just beginning to bud, and I can't wait to see where women's sledge hockey goes, because we're OGs. We're calling it sledge hockey.
Yeah.
You can call it what you want.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I mean, I know you and I have been connecting for quite a while now, and it's nice to kind of sit down and talk hockey for an hour.
Yeah. And I should have said this earlier, but Claire has been an incredible supporter of women's hockey in the CWHL days with the PWHPA. So we want to thank you for your continued fandom, and we know we'll see you at a rink soon, whether you're watching Kax or we're watching you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome.
We'll probably see you on Wednesday. So, it will be fun. Good luck at camp. And it was a blast to have you. And thank you for coming on our show, basically, Claire.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. That's it for this week. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks again, Claire.
The Knoxy and Kax Show on SDPN, produced in partnership with the PWHPA and presented by Sports Interaction.
Want to bet?
Follow Knoxy and Kax on Twitter at 27Knoxy and at Karell Emard. The views expressed are those of the individuals and are not necessarily those of the PWHPA. Check out sdpn.ca for more Knoxy and Kax and the rest of the SDPN crew.
She scores!